Hello internet friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lindsay or LiJo, and today we're going to be talking about fasting from your first function. Yes, intentional fasting from the thing that you do best in a default state without you knowing it all of the time, bringing attention to it and consciousness to it. So we're gonna get started. If you would like to talk to me more about this subject, you can book a video session with me below on my platform, Snug, that's snug.me, and I will, we'll talk. So we're gonna get started. All right, so let me tell you a little story about how I've been brainwashing myself over the past year and a half. Yes, in fact, I have been playing a game with myself, psychological manipulation for the sake of my greater good, with a game. Yes, so as many of you know, I love the beautiful game that is poker. Poker is like chess with half of the board missing and you're getting information as you go. It's a beautiful game. However, I saw this game as an opportunity to, like I said, manipulate myself because I understood the principles of my own mind. I understood from a mathematical perspective where I could really lose at this kind of game. And what I did as a result is say, I'm going to use what I know to be true in terms of my function math, and I'm going to fast from this particular area that's very easy to me, and I'm going to double down on the area that's really hard, my extroverted sensing, and play this as a game within a game for the sake of my own growth. So I went on a fast. Yes, I fasted from my introverted intuition, specifically in the category of learning poker. And while I practiced and I studied learning this game in which, these core principles and different mathematic formulas are essential to getting ahead, I told myself this is not my chance. I'm not allowed to use my introverted intuition in this setting, in this category, just yet. It's not easy. It's really hard to completely fast from your first function because it's the way in which your consciousness flows. So it's hard to be completely without, but what you can do is raise your awareness to when you're using it, especially if it's in a really narrowed in context. And we're going to be talking more about that in just a moment. But first I want to tell you about what this meant for me in the moment, and then also what my results were and what they continue to be. So what this meant for me when I was playing poker is I'm not allowed to guess. I am not allowed to make connections and jump to a conclusion based on anything. I had to learn the fundamentals in which the game actually operated and worked from a sensory perspective, because there's a lot of information that existed there. And me just going with my gut, just going with my inference of, the patterns I'm seeing, well, guess what? That might help from the human side, from the psychological side of things, but there's a whole portion of that interaction of this game that I would be missing out if I relied on my intuition alone. So in order to not put myself in that habit, in order to create a habit of being a winning player, I had to create the discipline to say, I'm not allowed to guess at all right now, complete fast. So I'm not allowed to just eloquently and sometimes very accurately guess. I had to prove in the real world the correct line of action in that particular spot. And I know some of you were saying, boo, that's not fun, right? Well, in the beginning, it's not fun because you're not using your savior function. You're not having initially that high that you get. I had to double down on my sensory, look at how things really work in the real world and, study real life examples of how things played out. What happens? How do people respond? What is the proper 4-bet sizing? Do I have the right pot odds to continue in this particular hand? Is this line of action, is it going to be a positive EV play or a negative EV play? Yeah, there's very little NI happening in these spots. And I had to drill that habit into my head for just about a year. Now, one unexpected benefit was the fact that I really did fall in love with the mechanics, and I started to genuinely respect the sensory that held this entire game together. But hold on, here's where it gets really good. This is where it gets even better, because guess what I just started to recently do? I allowed my NI to stick one little toe out into my poker game, just one toe. One toe, that's all. Not diving both in with both, one toe, okay? And boy, does that feel good after a year of fasting. Incorporating intuitive reads with my theoretical understanding of how the game works and plays out in real life, creating that mesh between intuition and reality. Well, folks, it is a beautiful, beautiful experience. And guess what the result is? The result is profitable. It's insanely profitable. And I mean that from the side of, not just the ability to be a profitable player, but I've created habits in which I'm becoming more attuned to the sensory, and I'm respecting the sensory, and I'm seeing the gain I get by respecting my lower function. And that itself is such a rewarding experience. It's something I want for everyone who is watching this video. So how do you make this happen for yourself? Think of it this way. You can fast from a lot of different things. You can fast from social media. You can fast from binge watching, from moral vices, from food. And even if you just take the category of food, you can narrow it down even further. Well, you can do a water fast. You can do a juice fast. You can do a dry fast. You can do a fast of just vegetables, completely cutting out meat. So why I mention that is it's very important to narrow down your category of your fast. If you're doing a metaphorical juice fast, you're doing just juice, right? It's very narrowed down. You've created a very small box and context in which you have permission to do and to not to do things. So find a particular category in which you tend to double down on that savior, that thing that you just do so easily. And say, in this category, I'm going to go through a fast in which I'm no longer allowed to do your first function. Sidebar, if it's not in a very specific category, this will be almost impossible to keep up with, so make it as narrow as you can. And next, the reward for doing this fast, for putting the work and the effort in, well, it should be a mathematical win, according to your own function math. This practice, this fast, should have value, substantial value, in your long-term growth. And if it's not gonna pay you off like that, well, then don't do it. You should be getting paid for your effort that you're putting in. And I know, I get the comments that are like, oh, but Lindsay, we should really just double down on our first function because that's what we do best. We're so good at it, this and that. Well, okay, hold on. Do you know what's also very good for you? Is food, eating. It helps your body stay alive in this flesh sack that you're currently trapped. Now, however, there are many people who take this life-sustaining thing of food and they use it to their detriment. They have too much of it and it actually causes their demise. So what is something that can save you is also the same thing that can kill you. And that's why fasting can be so important. The practice of being able to fast our first function in certain settings, well, it helps to not only strengthen our fourth function by giving it actually room to grow and to do its thing, but also it helps to make our first function even stronger because now that first function is sitting on a foundation of that lower function, and that is giving it a better platform to do also what it does best. All right, that's it for this video. I hope it helps you to understand a little bit about what it means to not just go all in with your saviors and, lose it all, but to create balance through fasting and really learning how to respect your other functions so that your first function, it has a better groundwork to do its thing on. So I will see you guys next time. Goodbye, internet friends.